and to make it a habit on our daily activities. It should be necessarily on this
si lazima tuwe tu June.
Si lazima ikuwe June.
We can prioritize the whole year.
Najua June tumekuwa tukiongelea vitu tunafaa kufanya. But after June inafaa sasa we practice them.
We start implementing tulikuwa tunataja ama solving pia some of the issues here. And still on you, Churchill, when it comes to conversation about men and mental health still, mbona it's difficult for men to even gather in these spaces that are advocating for mental health wellness and awareness? It looks like men are in some sort of like a shell. Before mwanaume afunguka aseme nyewe napigwa ama nyewe niko broke na hangaika. It will take intervention from the divine to make a man speak up. Ama something is falling apart and they're losing it and they're just about to die. What makes it that way for men?
I think mwanaume ataongea kama vitu zishakuwa noma, vitu kama zishakuwa mbaya zaidi.
Kama kumedoka.
Sasa zile mambo yamekuwa mabaya sana ndio mwanaume ataongea. I think society may to bring up in such a way that imetufunza sasa kwamba mwanaume hafai kuongea, mwanaume hafai kulia, mwanaume hafai semezana na mwenzake. Kwa sababu tunaangalia kwamba society itakuangalia vipi, society itakuchukulia vipi, society itasema nini kukuhusu, itakuona kama mwanaume dhaifu. Na kuna mwanaume
anataka mwanamke sasa.
Atakwambia vae kamisi. Na unajua si vizuri, mwanaume anataka kuonekana kama kiumbe ambacho kila mtu anakiangalia.
Misuli tinginya
kabisa.
Miraba minne pale.
So naona kwamba wanaume wanajificha kwa sababu ya society ambayo imetukuza sisi.
Imetuset up, na vile umesema, vile tumemention, unafaa ukae ngumu, kwanza in fact unaambiwa kufa kama mwanaume. Kufa, si ishi, unaambiwa die like a man. So I wish we had more, I'd say, spaces and even projects and even advocates wenye wanajaribu kutoa hii kwa install skill ama ile tumewekewa. But then pia somebody else would argue before I come on to you, Enoch. As a man you're supposed to be hardcore. Kama unapitia issues. In fact, I think it was Andrew Kibe who highlighted something here today as well about him. Alikuwa anasema, as a man you should be extremely masculine and nobody should know about what you're going through. Deal with it to your grave. So such philosophies and the way, some of the people that are even influential in some of these platforms, the things that they're giving are more, I'd say, brutalizing in terms of trying to instill a perspective. As a man, yes, you're struggling with depression, you're struggling with anxiety, you don't have a job, you don't have money, but yes, you can have a conversation with a friend mwambie, hey Sakwa, but they're not after job. Kama unajua mtu anaweza nisaidia, please ni connect. Si ukufe na madeni uende ushago and then social media too ni rest in peace, but people would have helped.
True. I believe by speaking out you get solutions. I believe that depression inakujanga mostly saa zile una pesa, ukiona account yako imeshuka, stress inaanza kupiga. Najua there is a difference between depression and stress. Stress unaweza manage.
You're a nurse, you're taking your word for it.
True. Unajua depression you can manage it, but stress you can manage. But depression inafunga imefika ile level yenye it's so bad. Now watu I think kwa depressed most because currently vile situation iko, utasikia mtu anasema hakuna kazi. Utapata mtu amesoma kuna cheti lakini kidogo atasema unapata. I have friends wenye tulimaliza shule now like 7 years ago bado hajaipata kazi.
At internship. It's really interesting internship msaji.
Na wote tuko na cheti, tuko na nini, tumequalify vizuri lakini utapata hakuna mtu hajakuwa employed. Mtu kama huyu ukienda hata ukimwangalia hivi unajua tu mtu anapambana na mawazo, go through lakini atakwambia mimi niko sawa, nitafanya loka 2-3 pale nitakuwa sawa.
Actually there's somebody who was saying we should normalize, mtu akipigia simu na kuuliza hey Sako ni aje, mwambie hey bro siko poa. Stop saying hi, how are you, I'm good, you're not good. Fakuru kwa mtu anasema don't even take good morning, it's not good morning anymore. Hey, I'm troubled. Hey, by the way, mimi nahitaji do. Hey, sijakula last night, but we've normalized, hey, niaje, niko sawa, but kumbe someone is you know, battling something, you know, crazy. Let me throw it to you, Enoch.
Yes,
and I had asked him the same question. Why is it difficult for men to open up and share the issues that they're going through, even to a person who could possibly help? Is it because you're afraid to be vulnerable? And I think vulnerability as well is what is being taught in this conversation. Men being vulnerable about the things that they're going through. Is it because of that, or just the fear of opening up and the worst? People thinking the worst. I'm like, also, what could be the worst that a person can think about you that could kill you?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I won't reinvent the wheel. That is, I pay tribute to people who have been given the gift to be able to introspect and look at society, and they paint it nicely. So I'm an avid reader. I'll mostly refer from 2 or 3 people that I read. Sire Jackson, he's a mental health advocate. Sire Jackson.
Okay.
And he's also a life coach and a wellness life coach. He has written a book called When the Grass is Green on the Other Side. He tackles 4 questions. He says that each and every person in life will ask you 4 paramount questions.
Okay.
There's the question of origin. Where am I from? There's the question of meaning and purpose. Why am I here? There's the question of morality. What is good and what is right? And then there's the question of destiny. After all is said and done, where am I headed to? If you're not able to answer these 4 questions of life keenly, vindu viko lapsanga.
So how do you answer from the first question you've said, how do you answer that?
So these questions like origin, for example, whatever founds our origin is our spirituality, because we are tripartite, we're not just, we don't exist in the flesh.
Tripartite, mind, body,
body and soul. So understanding and appreciating that there's actually a being, and you reconnecting with that gives you a good footstool, that as much as the world is big, there's a big God and there's a big creature. We pray tribute that he's in control. Meaning and purpose.
The universe,
meaning and purpose is what now gives you meaning, and even to us men. Utapata hata men kwa conversations zetu tukianza kubonga, tunasemanga, buda, unafanyanga nini? That's the icebreaker, literally, in any man conversation. So it means our careers shape who we are. It's not like girls are like, girl, get. So that's kind of different. And I think that's something that we want to ponder and discuss about, that is meaning. At the moment someone does not have a meaning, a purpose to live to, there is nothing to look up to in life. So you cannot actually answer the third question of life, that is morality. And then actually it affects your morality, because when you are not having a right meaning, you can do anything just to exist. The good book says money is a defense, and money itself is an enabler. You cannot be happy and broke at the same time. That is a fallacy. And you know, there are very many people who actually trivialize the aspect of poverty, because poverty is something, God even does not want you to be poor. They say that happy are the poor, but when Jesus Christ was saying, he says, happy are the poor in spirit, not the poor in pocket.
Or the poor in materials.
Yes. So it's actually paramount. But again, we need to be very intuitive with how we source in these incomes. Because as the Bible as well says that a man's skill will set him before men. And God has, as we were discussing earlier, God has actually gifted us differently. So with understanding that origin, that there's a God who created you for a purpose, he knew you from whence you're fashioned. I'm speaking this from a Christian perspective. It helps my perspective, and I attack life with a certain confidence, because I've been given, you know, an advantage. I'm starting life at an advantage.
It's because you know yourself, and you know you are feeling the meaning, the rhythm and the flow of your life.
And then the other thing about meaning and purpose is understanding your skills. Like, for example, I'm eloquent. That's something I have understood. So is trying and
you discovered it, and you're validating it.
So validating, that's good. You validate yourself, and then also continuously seek feedback. And with whatever, nurture that skill, and you know, we've been constrained with society that someone who's done engineering should just do engineering alone.
He's a doctor.
Like he's a doctor, he can just do doctor. But I know him himself, he looks nice. Are you into entrepreneurship? So you're doing other things other than.
And he's a teacher.
And he's a teacher. That's what I was telling.
Multifaceted.
Multi-skilled. So it's good. It's a good place. It gives him purpose, something to wake up into the morning, and it gives you find like your day is already wind up. Like someone was saying, we were from a different sharing, and then she was a daktari, and she's like, she had planted some vegetables, and then she, after her shift, akaeka gari yake anapaka anauza. Someone is asking her, hi, even daktaris kwani how bad is the economy? Even daktaris are selling vegetables. But she's actually making it's employment. It's a purpose.
Or it's a hobby.
It's a hobby. That's all right.
It's making him happy.
Something else about mental wellness is being proactive and intentional about it. We human beings are social creatures. The moment we don't have a meaning, we will tend to recline because that defines us. So we find like it's like society is not appreciating us for who we are. So we peg our identities on the kind of things that we do. But again, our identity, if we have the right origin, that we have a God and a creator, he loves us openly. We will not peg that identity on this work. Tutajua hata job kiisha, God is going to create another one avenue, you get. So it will give us that confidence to reintroduce, and then that's the thing when you're going through something. But I normally tell my friends is just show up and be seen. Show up and be seen.
Okay.
Do not ostracize yourself from society. Because the moment you ostracize yourself from society, you're cutting yourself from your social capital. Your social capital, your network is your net worth. You're never going to get these opportunities out there. Speak out, but speak out validly to people who can give you advice. There are people who will tell your problems and they'll scorn you and they'll laugh at you.
Or you hear it in the next.
In
the next podcast. The next TED Talk.
Like for example, there's that smoky my eye thing that it trended some time back. So safe spaces, finding and identifying safe spaces and understanding that you are a social being. Don't ostracize yourself from society. And this is something that normally happens. Life is not always a curve. Before we actually figure it out, there's no kitabu, for example, a manual. You didn't start with, I know, you didn't start with hosting right now. There are some things you started. I think my first job I started as a peace worker immediately after class 8. I was carrying 60 kilograms of coffee. Coffee, I submit, is the heaviest cereal. And you're being paid like 10 shillings. But you see, that gave me purpose in that moment. So don't belittle because you have reached a certain level of, and that's the problem and the mindset of young people nowadays. They feel like, there are some things I cannot do. But you kind of understand that the blue jobs are the ones that actually fashion even for the white jobs. Because you will appreciate that, you will learn skills about punctuality, you appreciate skills that are crucial. You
get hands-on
skills.
Engaged. Apart from sitting here on TV
and
bantering.
Yes, so be active about your life and then be intentional, that is with creating the right kind of friendships, and then also reach out to people who are of value and then consume resources that are out there. We are living in an age of telepresence. There are people who have already gone don't be the fool who learns from their own mistakes. Learn from other people's mistakes.
But it's also good to learn from. They say experience
is the best teacher, but sometimes
once you learn the hard way, you never go back that route. You're like, I learned the hard way here.
But one crucial thing I just want to mention is life at some point gets hard and difficult. There are moments of meaninglessness, but it's in these moments when we are in society, we are able to fashion and actually create, meaning and purpose. And it's preparing us for a different stage. So transitional stages and spaces are when people are actually, because ukitoka campus is when people are kind of depressed, when you're trying to figure out your job or where you are, your boss is sitting on you. So it's very crucial. So those 4 questions, but specifically meaning are going to define.
So how do you find meaning? Because you've mentioned really some important things as well. We should delve into all of them. But in a sense that kuna huyu boys ako mtaani na hajielewi. Unasikia venye Waswahili wanasema haambiliki hasemezeki, yeye anaishi tu kuende vile kutaenda, So how do they find a sense of direction and grounding to a point that I'm able to fight all these demons I'm fighting, but still they're leading me to the right direction. I'm not getting sucked back into the depression and the anxiety and giving up, even though the suicides are coming a lot from the men lately than the other, demographic.
The first thing is show up.
And be seen.
Sure, just be in a society. I personally, I will submit, and I'm not afraid to say this. There's a moment even my close friends will tell, life will go imenipiga beating. But I will be in spaces of people, I wouldn't be the normal jovial self. But that being in the community of people laughing and people actually taking up, it made me feel good. A friend of mine was asking me that I have a guy who's going through a mental fit, but he kind of doesn't want to be approached. We get reclined. What do? I don't know how to advise them. I told them, continuously just ring their phone, because that actually matters. When they see that missed call atakama on me, there's in their back of their mind, someone actually cares. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is be active. be physically active. Physically active is exercise. There's some very things that we actually neglect. Be out in the sunlight, exercise.
Fanya to press ups,
fanya to press ups,
cardio.
and then just get out of the house. We were laughing very loudly, my friend, about how 2024, the end of 2024 is beating us. He's telling me him and his friend were just, could get out of the house, and they're like, hey bro, we can't sit here. If we sit here, this is going to be bad. When the 2 inch, we just see how and then the other thing is seek active advice from people who you see in society and would want to mimic. Approach them, and people will be willingly open to actually
Speaking
help.
of approaching, most men are not that conversational, right?
And that's the
like
problem.
Storytellers. Like umekatuna mseko matatu, and then it has happened to me. I sat next to someone and they began an interesting conversation. Tuliongea hadi tukafika the next destination, atujuani majina. And the conversation was so amazing. Tuliongelea vitu mingi sana. So it's rare, do you find a man who is open, chatty and gabby and conversational.
So the other thing is you first understand and audit yourself, understand your personality. Are they, like, as an adult, you're responsible of your own life. I think I'm addressing mostly the youth population, populace, people who have IDs.
Gen Zs,
people who should be actually, and then the problem that we Gen Zs we have a victim mentality. I think I had the previous speaker speaking about it, that, my father did this and this. It's time to heal and learn and unlearn some of the things and the wounds that you had. Forgive and forget, and then also get, active skills to propagate you towards life. So one of these things is figuring who you are, and then doing personalities. There are 4 primary personalities. There's sanguine, melancholic, phlegmatic, and the other one is choleric. Yeah. Personally, I'm a choleric. You find
so how do you know that you're a choleric?
There are tests online.
Gen Zs do this horoscopes.
So there are tests online. You see how you Zico. Processes Zico. Like, we're living in an age. It's only the ignorant person who won't tell what they are. So after you understand your personality, it will help you and train you to know your strengths and your weaknesses. And then you also now measure on your strengths, and then also make sure that your weaknesses are less pronounced. This will make sure that you're well equipped. This make sure that you're well equipped, and then it will shape your social.
It
and
gives
also
you a
soft
sense of
skills.
self-confidence. Actually,
yes, true.
There.
Because for example, if sometimes when I'm quiet and I'm feeling I don't want to communicate, I know it's because of the melancholic me that is actually in the background. So understanding who they are, their identity, and then now working to tool up, and like the things that cholerics are good, but phlegmatics are not good. The things that melancholics are good at, because melancholics are good in mathematics. I'll submit maybe probably you're a melancholic, that's why you're good in. He can concentrate for long periods. Sanguines cannot sit down and concentrate, but they can be very perfect MCs.
Is it possible to get a man who is bubbly? Bubbly, because you can be bubbly trained for radio and TV. We are conversational, you crack jokes, but the real you is very silent. You don't like even interacting with people. But when you're on air, you're bubbly, you're outgoing, your personality is fluid. Are there men who are like that apart from the profession? Like, naturally, this dude is bubbly, loud, conversational, and just...
They are men. The problem is now, even because of those people who are the self-proclaimed, experts of life. There's no expert in this life. You gather advice. Even me, whatever I'm saying here, just gather some advice, and whatever applies to your life. No expert in this life. The only expert is God, and He's continuously speaking to us through His word.
Let me throw it to you, Barasa Churchil. Do you, from your experiences as a gentleman as well, some of the things that you personally have had to, let's say, overcome, that you publicly talked about confidently, that, as a man, me, as Churchil, or Barasa, I struggled with this and this, and I believe any Gen Z gentleman who's out there, they possibly will go through it, or maybe they have gone through it and they're still stuck here. So, would you say that there's things that you've gone through as a man that, shaped you? Some of them hurt you, broke you, but at the end of the day, you learned it as a lesson, and it equipped you with some skills that have helped you to get through life, that you would confidently say, you know what, this is me, take me or don't take me, because of the confidence.
True. There's some things I went through, and I'm really proud of them. At that time of COVID, I was back in school, and things went, down. Mambo iliharibika kabisa. Kila mtu alirudi nyuma, shule zikafungwa. A lot of things happened. So I was back at home. I went back at home because my parents
Funga virago.
my parents couldn't pay my rent that time.
Kulipia
nyumba na wishi hapo. Ama uendi shule. Hauna kazi, hauni purpose. Kaniambia Barasa kuja nyumbani. So I went home. Kufika nyumbani nikakaa wiki ya kwanza, wiki ya pili. Nikona kama mambo isongi. Nikaenda I did mjengo.
Wow.
Kulikuwa kubaya kabisa. Unajua pia ulikuwa kika nyumbani unakuwa depressed. Unaona
inactivity.
Alafu nilikuwa peke yangu nyumbani that time na my bed
just the worst. That's the worst, man.
So hiyo solitude ilikuwa na nieka chini, nikaamua after all hata ni kama nitakuwa nafanya tu mazoezi. So nikaenda mjengo nikafanya for like 3 months. Nikiwekeza pesa. Hiyo pesa nikakusanya zote pamoja. Nikanunua vifaranga vidogo vidogo. Nikaanza kuweka vifaranga.
Si vya computer.
Si vya computer.
And then the real vinatembea.
And then that year I'm a lawyer. So that year kulikuwa na circumcision. And circumcision najua to crown a lawyer ceremony lazima. Kuna ugushuma hapa. Na ngoko, ndio? Ugali na.
Ndio SI unit.
So nikazekeza zile kuku kufika December pale nikaziuza. I really made some good money. Naona sasa nili invest to some few coins. And then nikaanza kuwekeza kuku yani kama hobby tu sasa. Naona but after while nikakujanga kuona kumbe pia naweza ziuza wakati wa circumcision hiyo ceremony. I really made a fortune from it.
Wow.
So I think people have potential. Wenyewe ndani yao wenyewe. So you just have to sit down and look for an opportunity and then explore your potential.
It's amazing how you turned your devastation and frustration into your entrepreneurship journey.
That's the point.
It's like you went through something horrible and terrible. There's a friend who was telling me that your pain and your trauma is your power. And how you should channel it into.
It retools you.
Yes, you channel it into something meaningful. And look, here you are. You're a nurse alongside a teacher and still an entrepreneur. And you're really scaling, You're making progress. Now, for a typical gentleman who's depressed out there, maybe we can even get into some of these mental health issues. Like for you realize that, you know what, at this point, I can't do it no more, man. Let me just go back home. But at least for you had the backing of your own parents, your blood parents, And I believe that's the greatest blessing any gentleman can have. Support your baba na mama, Now for a gentleman who doesn't have any sort of, backup, unaweza muadvise aje learning from what you went through?
Ndugu yangu hapa amesema toka na uonekane. Si ndio?
Sure.
Jitokeze, jionyeshe mbele ya watu.
I think out of volunteering for something is when you'll be noticed.
Correct.
Naona. For kazi mingi siku hizi lazima unapata nakwambia lazima volunteer for quite some time. Utapata some institution wanaita internship.
But Gen Z hawataki hiyo story.
Hawataki hiyo story. Hapo sasa ndio kuna shida sasa.
Aingia alipe pesa zake. Which is a good thing.
It's a good thing. Ndio wanafanya kazi obvious.
But then the unemployment part now comes in. Because there's a price you're paying.
Mimi nitawadvise, you never know. One door closes, another one opens.
True.
So tafuta kitu, toka from your comfort zone. Toka from your self-actualization stage and aspire to challenge yourself. Challenge yourself. Jambie, now that I'm not employed, what can I do with my unemployment? The best thing in Tukonayo, the priceless thing in Tukonayo, it's time.
Actually, let me just help me. Time is a resource. You can invest time in anything.
And time is money.
Time is money. Actually, that's the resource that we young people have, is time. We can actually invest time on anything. So you can continue.
Go ahead,
So I think we have time. So those are, my fellow Gen Zs.
But then also, they say as a man, ufai kukosa, kuna vitu tu wanakuambia, wewe ni mwanaume na hauna guy. What kind of a man are you? And I read somewhere that is the most destructive thing a man can be told. So what kind of a man are you? Hauna hii pia? Nasikia such statements usually cut through, you know, the man's confidence and self-positive image.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, sure.
So Sir Jackson, he speaks about, I will borrow much from my Christianity. I like how he points it out. In the Garden of Eden, something bad happened. That is, our parents, Adam and Eve, fell into sin. There was a wound that was inflicted. For these two people, it's something even that can be able to relate in our personal lives. So the man was inflicted the wound of effort. That's why we see, by the sweat you shall earn. The woman is inflicted, I think, a wound of affection. That's her desires shall be the man. That's why you find ladies, all they stress about is how they look, their facials. And the man is many effort. You get appreciating and understanding this will help us, because after the fall, our psychologists, you know, the brain is brain chemistry. I think Nurse can actually tell us. And you'll realize whatever happens in depressive episodes is our brain chemistry changes. But something good is that there's something called neuroplasticity. There are things that actually affect how our brain chemistry, and then our brain chemistry fires signals. It's a supercomputer. You know, we have billions and billions of cells up here, and neurons. So you should be very intentional and appreciate and understand that there's a way this correlates in our lives, and also our origin, where we are, like our fallen state. Like as a Christian, I'll understand that I have a wound of effort. So my job doesn't necessarily have to define me each and every other time.
Or your troubles and what you're
they don't have to define me each and every other time. There's a reason why I feel certain, like I feel depressed, and then when I feel depressed, show up, laugh with people, you will find that
how do you know you're depressed, really? Because that is the conversation of the day.
Very nice.
We are actually asking you a question. Kama mwanaume, especially in matters unemployment. Je, mayouth wanafaa overcome aje depression resulting from unemployment? How do you know that you're depressed? Because I understand self-diagnosis is always wrong or misdiagnosis, and that's what we do.
So, you know, depression is in different scales. I think the WHO says that there's severe depression and then there's mild depression. But kuna telltale signs. Na hizo zinakuwa described na your brain chemistry. Na your brain chemistry inakuwa, because when you're in people, there's some chemicals that your brain emits. Probably it's endorphins for and oxytocin for bonding. But again, oxytocin pia inaweza tumika for as a stress hormone. Which is the stress hormone? Probably Daktari can tell.
Stress hormone is the flight or fright hormone.
Yeah, kinda that. So adrenaline or something like that. In times of anxiety, because when you're anxiety, you find anxiety in a peak in towards the sides of depression. So there are some telltale signs. I just read them. Is a persistent low mood, that is sadness, emptiness, lowness. You just don't feel like the things you are interested in life, you're not doing them.
But stick to your point. Because people, kama mtu ana pesa,
so I'm coming to
lack of money is a mental health.
Mtu tu
ukiwa ulikuwa na 20k all of a sudden imefika 2k, bro, you are feeling depressed. You are feeling depressed.
You're feeling depressed. So understanding and appreciating we are humans. Now there is a way we function. There are laws that are natural there. If I do something X, it will lead to something Y. You know, it's a correlation equation. Something that we neglect is, sasa hiyo unapata mtu anakuwa depressed amejifungia kwa keja. Kujifungia kwa keja, you're not out in the sunlight. In the sunlight you need a certain nini inaitwa serotonin. Serotonin is a feel good hormone na pia ina introduce dopamine. Hiyo design umejifungia kwa keja, uko nje hautoki. Actually that's the telltale signs of people who are depressed. They don't show up outside. So you
kuongea na watu.
Anaongea na watu. Withdrawal, sasa unaweza kuwa na hizo wisdom. Hizo symptoms na nini. So even sunlight itself, and then also your health, water, exercising. You know, exercising, it keeps your metabolism active, and it increases also your creativity. Because if you're in the house, you will never be creative. But if
just
I'm out
in
there,
bed all the time with your phone, and that's what we do.
That's the other problem. That's the other problem. Like, tumekuwa too so much programmed. There's another book I'll recommend people. It's called Amusing Ourselves to Death. He speaks about, it was written in the 1970s, but to current, those insights actually, we can gather them up to this date. So being intentional, reaching out to people in the society, understanding that you're a social being. You know, it's so crucial that even cows mourn when one of theirs is
being slaughtered.
Actually, cows have best friends. It's a study. Cows have best friends, and when they are isolated, they tend to be depressive and something. They won't produce milk if they are not in the cycle and stuff like that.
They are stressed.
So if these are cows, what about you, a human being? You are a heightened creature. And again, you understand you're created in the image of God, and God wants to relate with us. So you relate with other people, be active, and then especially that your sunlight. Usijifungie kwa keja. I think that's, unaenda, you find you're doing stupid decisions, you find someone hangs themselves by the nose because you're not in society. And then,
Speaking of society, hapo kwa society, your family imekuambia, sasa wewe uko 39, hujaoa.
Una kazi.
But there's a lady who came out on TikTok akasema, my son is 40, hana bibi, hana girlfriend, hana kazi, jameni kujeni mtusaidie. But then at the comment section people were saying, kwani ameshizi miaka zote from 18 to 40, what has happened to this gentleman? But then for me, in my own diagnosis, I think there's something that could have happened, either mentally, emotionally, or family-wise, because rarely do you just see a man who's still living in his mom's house. He's 40 years old, doesn't have a job, doesn't have a girlfriend, has never dated, he's not, all those other things, but he's just there,
Another book called Attachment. There's an attachment theory by a psychologist called Bowlby. He says that we form attachment styles while we're still children. There are three major attachment styles. There is secure, and there's anxious, there's avoidant.
I think I'm avoidant now. Thanks. I run away from people really fast.
You run away from people.
When you're building pressure on me, I'm like, I'll call back.
Bowlby says the secure one, ndio tunafai kuenda hapo sisi wote. You remember neuroplasticity? You can rewire your brain. And we can actually, people change, people retool their personalities. Unapata mse alikuwa amenyamaza, but 10 years later you realize, hey, Manzel is different, he's a different person because of neuroplasticity. So you have an edge on that. So let me speak about these three personalities on that specific issue. People who are anxious are people who wako dependent on other people's, like unapata ndio wako insecure. And then avoidance people, and I think most people who are in depressive episodes are avoidants. When
so I could be depressed.
I don't know.
How am I laughing at I'm depressed?
Because you see the anxious person who will consistently atakuwa anxious. As a result atakuwa na suffer from anxiety disorders. But who are avoidant atajiisolate. Akijiisolate na nini ina result ni depression. Simuelewa, sasa ile time akona ngori anajitoa from society, anaji-ostracize. Akiwa peke yake pia sasa anaanza kufikiria something good. Another book I'll recommend, it's by Neil Nedley, is called The Lost Art of Thinking. There are very many resources. I personally have consumed these books. The Lost Art of Thinking.
Lost Art of Thinking. Okay.
Also by the same author, it's called Depression, The Way Out. It's a very nice book that gives out 500 pages, but ukisoma hata tu 100 pages, the first 100 pages, it will help you and shape your life. So there are very many insights, there are very many resources that are out there that can help. Si lazima uende psychology, therapy and things to do that. Be intentional about your life. Right? Be intentional about your life. By the way, I'm in the deep.
That's realizing you're in the deep end of life. I think is one way solution to actually know, mimi nimehit rock bottom. Nianze kutafuta strategy ya kujitoa hapa. But then
it all begins with yourself.
I was thinking the lines of boys mwenye naambiwa na familia, sasa wewe ni mwanaume wa aina gani? Hata umefika 30 ama 39, hauna gari, hauna nyumba, but yet your Gen Z cousin who's 27 ndio huyo amebuy Audi pale, amejengea mabe nyumba, na wewe ukotoa hapo hivyo as in radako ni gani? But such sentiments as well, they break down this man. Instead of him being, lifted up, your spirit is broken down. So unaweza ambiaje boys mwenye ako stuck kwa hiyo nini, kwa hiyo realm, you're like nothing is working out, everything looks so uncertain, hana confidence, but yet instead of being supported, these people are breaking him down.
Nitaanza kumwambia it's okay not to be okay. Ni sawa una do.
It happens to all of us.
Mimi usemanga ni time yako ijafika. Na kila mtu ako na time. Just like a bus. If you miss this bus, there's always a next one coming. So just wait, be patient. And then another thing tasema, what do you have in your hand? Kama uko nani utaniambia simu, si ndio? Nitakwambia out of your phone you can create an employment, you can make
create
money
content.
Let me give you a story in the Bible. Now
these guys are so bad. Leo mimi nikitoka my next job ni kuwa pastor. Kwanza hapo taoni kianda.
But it's a good book.
The Bible actually con a lot of things. Actually what we're dealing with right now, solutions ziko kwa Bible.
All of them.
All of them. Now let me give you a story. Moses, the story of Moses. Moses alikuwa anachunga mbuzi za father-in-law wake, si ndio?
Yeah.
I think kitambo ilikuwanga hivyo. Unaenda unachungia father-in-law mambuzi, then atakupa msichana. So alikuwa kwa mountain, si ndio? And then akona burning bush. So akaenda kuangalia, ni nini iko huko hivi. And then kulikuwa na sauti. Kamwambia toa viatu. You're standing on a holy ground, si ndio? So unakumbuka hiyo story?
Yeah.
Now, Mungu akamwambia, nataka uende uokoe watu wangu Egypt, watoe Egypt wapeleke Canaan. Moses akasema tio, mimi ni mnyonge, sijui siwezi ongea, akaanza excuses mingi. Mungu akamuuliza swali moja. Moses, uko na nini kwa mkono yako? Umeshika nini kwa mkono? Si ndio? Moses akasema niko na a herding stick. Akaiambia itupe chini. Ikabadilika ikakuwa nyoka. Si ndio? Mara ya kwanza. Akaambia ishike. Akaishika. Same thing ili happen saa zile Israelites walikuwa wanataka maji ya kunywa. Moses alirudi alienda kuambia Mungu, watu wangu wanahangaika kiu. Mungu akamuuliza uko na nini kwa mkono? Akamwambia niko na kijiti. Enda ugonge mawe. So solutions za shida zetu zote ni sisi tuko nazo. Ni sisi tuko nazo. Wanasemanga kama hapa kwa studio, ndio? In your hand. You just have to identify what do you have. Uko na nini kwa mkono? Kama kijana uko nyumbani ana kazi, na pengine kama my friend here. Una bibi. Kwa bibi itabidi utafute, lakini kwa kazi na unemployment. Tunaona kama ndugu yangu hapa ako na something extra apart from what he's doing. Ako eloquent. He can be an orator. Naona anaweza amua kuwa na ongelesha watu kwa shule, public speaking. Hiyo ni kitu ako nayo kwa mkono. It's something unique about him.
It's a skill for this generation.
Should you allow me to just dash because you have hit the right vibe?
Yeah. But then I'm being told we have to exit, so we have to put it to a close. You finish your point. We have 10 seconds to exit. Yeah, finish the point. Yeah.
I think you should know what you have on your hand and exploit it. It can be anything. It can be even a friend. It can be even a phone, even a pen. You can write, you know.
Use anything you have to.
So you need to identify what you have.
Yeah. Your punchline to the Gen Zs as you exit?
It's okay not to be okay. Come out from your cocoon and be seen.
Face the world.
Face the world. Usiogope, toke uonekane.
Yeah.
Toke uonekane.
Jitokeze. Yes, Enoch?
He who has a why can figure out anyhow. That is someone who survived the Holocaust.
Okay.
Try and figure out, don't let joblessness define you. View yourself in the light of when you have already been employed. And then actively seek out opportunities. And I'll insist, show up and be seen.
Yeah. Something that both of you have echoed. I think we can have a part 2 where we can also talk about men and identity crisis and being masculine. What does masculinity mean? And whatnot.
This cannot be exhausted, this topic in one day.
For it, there's a lot to cover. So social media yako moja tu yenye ko active or LinkedIn?
Instagram.
Sema moja raka tukienda.
Churchil Barasa.
Churchil Barasa. Yes.
As an entrepreneur, just visit giget.co.ke. I think that will do me much service.
Everything. Yeah. It's an incredible conversation. Enoch Bansu and Barasa Churchil, man. I hope we have a part 2 of our podcast right here.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you to you so much as well for watching. Me and my crew, there's like 10 people around here. Ni mimi tu niko on the air. But I appreciate them too as well, and I appreciate you too for watching us from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'll see you tomorrow bright and early, myself, right here, Mr. Brian Sako, Brian Sako on social media at Y254 channel. See you tomorrow. Thank you for watching.
Bye.